Hello everyone, it's Maureen. Haven't posted a video in quite some time, so I wanted to take an opportunity to show you what I've been up to. And what we have here is Lucets and the cord that they make. These happen to be a Lucet tool made out of sycamore wood and one made out of curly maple. This one happens to be made out of horn, although you can have some made out of bone and other materials. Lucet creates a square cord. See if we can get that to focus. There we go. You can kind of see how it turns over a little bit. And depending on the thickness of the thread that you use, depends on the thickness of the cord. This happens to be quite a narrow silk, so we're ended up with a very narrow little cord. And once you get started making your cord, there we go, that one turned out really well. This is the same black narrow cord. Once you start making your cord, because you're doubling up basically the thickness of this thread, you can make quite sturdy, yet relatively flexible cord. It's got just a little bit of pull to it. And I had just started this particular piece. So we have basically our tail that goes through the hole. And you have what people like to call bunny ears, a loop that's being held by one knot here, and then this one being held in place by that same knot. And you basically go back and forth, and you create your loops to hold your cord in place. If you drop a loop, what happens is it will create a loop that is stuck. And if you cut that loop, you have the risk of, when your cord is under tension, if you drop a loop, and that loop is cut to smooth it out to make it look like the rest of the cord, it'll end up eventually pulling the cord apart because you've weakened it by a link. So if you think about this like chainmail, and you have your subsequent links that are holding your cord together, makes a big difference. So that's what that looks like. And I'm going to try a different color for you. See if the black maybe shows up a bit better. So bear with me while I change colors. Now, this happens to be 22 silk, 20/2, which happens to be a kind of silk that is a bit thicker. Kind of like that. The white that I was working on is the same thickness. Now, I'm going to show you how to load your fork. I like this particular style because it doesn't really have a handle, but it's wide enough for my hand to get around. I can put a little bit of pressure on it and it doesn't move or flex. And I can kind of wrap around the string. So all I did here is wrap it around, pull it through the hole. You don't have to start it this way. You could easily hold the tail right here and keep your thumb on it. But you do need some form of friction to hold on to the bottom of the string while you start your Lucet. So I created a series of 4 loops. 2 here, 2 here. I can take my bottom one, take it up and over the top. I'll do that again. Take the bottom loop, take it up over the top, pull the tail down. Oops, and see, that actually didn't work too nicely there. But I do have my second loops over here. So I pull this bottom to the top, kind of creates a little knot. And here's my next one. So there we have our knot right there. Up over the top, slide it into place. The tail is kind of helpful, that once you get started, you can kind of help pull your knot to the middle. Otherwise, it is going to kind of slide from side to side as you're working. So we have about 4 little knots right there already. There's the beginning of our cord. Now I happen to get my materials, my cord making supplies, from White Wolf in Phoenix, who actually happen to be a supplier, not just for SCA, but for a lot of other people who like to do weaving and other related fiber string arts. So they sell lucets like this. Their stock, of course, varies, so you'd have to check out their website. They sell looms for tablet weaving, which use very similar string as to this. They sell threads that you could use for embroidery, which, if you saw my earlier videos with my embroidery, that's their products too. This isn't a sponsored video. However, when you find a good thing, it's best to share with your friends. I also wanted to pop on today to make a video, not just to show you about Lucet, but also thank the 60 subscribers that I have now on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of something really special. And if you do like my channel, tell your friends. It's always great to have more folks come in. Always a great opportunity for wonderful questions. See how it's all real loosey-goosey now since it's so short? It's trying to run away. So what I like to do is pull it a little tight there. I like to hold on to this little guy. Oops. There we go. I have to say this is very different doing this as a video as compared to sitting down and just making cord. But as you can see with the silk, it really does slide quite nicely into place. I noticed, and I have linen, and you can make lucet out of linen, but depending on its finish, sometimes it likes to catch on itself a little bit, so you do have to be careful with your tension, and the silk likes to slide past each other quite nicely as compared to the linen. Oh, there you go. See the braid that you're creating? And look, it's not just that side, it's that side too. It's a 4-sided cord. Now there are other ways of making cord. There is finger loop braiding, which takes 5 loops and you're moving them basically from one hand to another, creating a series of knots down your string. Sort of similar to our little plait that we're creating here. Now this likes to work its way out of the hole, and that's typical of when you're just starting and you just only have this little nub of cord. But this is pretty much how you start a single Lucet cord. Now Lucet can be also made with 2 different colors, and I can show how that process works in a later video. I have to try it myself yet. But I've been making the single color, monocolored cords for quite some time. It's a great way of passing time, especially something wonderful to keep in your project bag, in your purse, for when you want a little something to do with your hands, but you don't want to carry a big project with you. This is a great way of doing that. It just keeps growing and growing. I've noticed that crochet cotton makes great Lucet cord too. More the thicker kind of like this in your crochet cotton tends to work out nicely. That's really what this is. That's crochet cotton, but of a thick variety. Same sort of situation here. But because of the way the fiber is able to slide against one another, it creates that nice little bit of stretch that you just don't get with your typical cord. See? It's ever so slight. When you make mistakes, it can kind of turn out like this as well. So you do want to be careful. Here's those loops I was telling you about. If I clip those loops, I'm going to make this piece of cord very weak and it would pull apart. So that's the only problem when you end up making a mistake. The Lucet technique is just not very forgiving. See that stretch? It's really pretty nifty, especially when you're using it for a hat. I love to use these as drawstrings in my Tudor coifs because that little bit of stretch gives you just that little bit extra snugness of when you're tying your coif on, or anything really for that matter. So this is how you make Lucet cord. If you have any questions on the technique that I showed you and anything more in particular, please leave them in the comments. And if you liked this, please check out my other videos. And if you like those, maybe consider subscribing. We try to have fun here on my channel as much as possible. I look forward to answering any questions you have and any comments that you may come up with. Have a great night. Bye.